Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a couple days, but I'm gonna go ahead and possibly finish up playing Choice of the Pirate here. So we are still on the ship, and these are my skills. My Cambiar is high, my Parlay is high. I'm an honorable, good-willed privateer for the most part, and Tanima is still my lover and stuff like that. So that's all my stats. Yeah, I got 1,205 doubloons, 5 ships in my fleet. So we are going to decide what to do with this, what was it again? The amphora? Let's get a closer look at it. It's a curious object and deceptively simple. There's no patterning on the ceramic, nothing to distinguish it from 1,000 other wine jars in a ship's hold, and yet there's an attraction to it, such that you almost can't stop your arm from reaching out to lift the seal, to smell the perfume contained inside. You stop short of touching the thing and take a few steps back. You've never felt magic quite like that, and you have a moment of sympathy for the poor fools on this ghost vessel who couldn't help but lift up the seal. I shoot it, I shatter the amphora with the hilt of my cutlass, I have Granny destroy it. Let's have, because I would assume shooting it and shattering it with a cutlass would break out whatever perfume is inside, so we'll have Granny destroy it. Granny wastes no time in getting to the amphora. You don't know how Granny manages it, but whether she talks to the amphora and wills it to shatter, or whether she used some form of cambiar you've never seen, doesn't matter to you at this point. What matters is that your ghostly companion manages the task and the amphora turns to shards. The moaning of the mutiny turns into a full-blown shriek, and the deck beneath your feet shudders, rotting away as you stand on it. I grab for some treasure, I make my way back up the companionway, I use my cambiar to help the whole rot, then have the water carry me upward. I make my way up the companionway. You head above, the rungs of the companionway rotting beneath your feet as you hurry to the main deck. There, the remains of the ghost pirates are turning into rotting flesh and bone decomposing in front of you, and yet their skeletal grins seem somehow comforting, as though you really have freed them to go to their final rest. Using the mutiny's dinghies would be an exercise in futility, but if you hurry overboard, you might be able to swim close enough to the Sea Queen to be rescued. You're a competent swimmer and a rarity among sailors, and you're confident you can make it. Though you're exhausted from a battle and your encounters with terror, the swim is almost refreshing. Almost. It's still hard work, and the tug of the mutiny as she sinks makes it more difficult, but as the rest of the mutiny disintegrates, her last limbs plunge into the water, and rotting away, you reach your ship and let the crew haul you aboard. Eventually, there is cheering and celebration, congratulations from your crew. It washes over you, and you're almost too tired to enjoy it. Almost. The Sea Queen limps back to San Alfonso in need of repair, but better off than the ill-fated mutiny. Achievement, Ghost Ship. You know you didn't travel quickly back to San Alfonso, but you're surprised with how soon the news hit the port. As it turns out, one of Anne Reed's ships followed your progress and sped back to San Alfonso to be the first with the news. There's an official ceremony at which El Sabio gives you not only your bounty, but also a medal. Around you, the crowd seems to be waiting for something or someone to show up, but they leave disappointed. You hear later at the Lobo Negro that there were rumors that the Pirate King himself would be in attendance, but if he were there, he was well hidden or disguised. No one picked him out of the crowd. Despite what you said to Jacquin de Aviles, when you last conversed, you know that you still have the opportunity to work for the crown. Opportunity to work for the crown open to you. What do you decide? I'll work for the crown to take down the Pirate King. I'll pretend to work for the crown to take advantage of their patronage. I'm not interested in working for the crown. I'll work for whoever pays me. I'm not interested in working for the crown, really. You're not about to get entangled in politics. Besides, if the Pirate King ever found out about such an alliance, you can be sure that every pirate in the Lucayan would be hunting you. You expect that it's a moot point anyway, as it seems likely Jacquin was moving on. To your surprise, when you next go to the Lobo Negro, Jacquin is still in San Alfonso, nursing a drink at the bar. I like to talk business. I offer to buy him a drink. I spend time engaging him in conversation. I spend time with him to read a lot of secrets. I ignore him. I don't remember liking him very much. Yeah, no, I don't like him very much. I'm just going to ignore him. I don't really care about Jacquin. You're fairly certain now that he's a crown spy, but you have no evidence, so you won't do anything, yet, to betray him. But you won't have anything to do with him either. I don't trust him, Caesar says, watching him from across the taberna. Tanima nods in agreement. Let's not waste any more time thinking about him this evening, you say. No sense borrowing trouble from tomorrow. Instead, you spend the night in the arms of your cambiante and lover, where there is no intrigue, only the pleasure of each other's company. Oh, okay. I was gonna say no intrigue. That's okay. Never mind. The sun dawns on another day, and you find you're becoming better known in the pirate community. Oh, did my fame is at 75. Any port in a storm. Chapter 6. The adventure with the ghost ship has taken the Sea Queen out of commission for a few weeks, maybe a month. At worst, 2. She's up in dry dock as the shipwrights try to figure out just what that pitch-like ammunition did to her hull. While your crew seems glad of the leave, you can feel yourself getting restless. You've considered going out on one of your other ships instead of waiting, but your fleet captains are an independent bunch. They're continuing to target the marks you've requested, and they're bringing in the share of booty, so you don't want to discourage them from their duties. The last thing you want is your fleet's crew to be unhappy enough with you to mutiny and lose you the extra cash flow. Given your itch to accomplish something while you're landlocked, how are you spending your time? I'm spending most of it with Tanima, spending most of it with Caesar. I'm studying at the library. I'm making business negotiations. I'm watching shipwrights. And I'm seeking out Evan Lark. Let's spend it with Tanima. Why? To practice my cambiar, to strengthen our friendship, to ask her opinions on politics, to strengthen romance. Duh! What's it now? It's at 91. You settle in over drinks at La Casa de Invierno, the tienda de café you've been frequenting while the Sea Queen is being repaired. As soon as your drinks arrive, Tanima takes the floor. As she begins to discuss her concerns, you're relieved to hear all of them are nitpicks or troubles among your crew that you hadn't yet recognized. She's got a good eye for how people interact, a skill you never realized you could enlist to help keep your crew content. You almost want to take notes, but you can always ask Tanima for reminders once you're back on the ship. Eventually, Tanima brings the conversation around with gossip about the Pirate King, the lack of confidence the pirates of San Alfonso are showing in his mostly absent leadership, and Anne Reid's attempts to further undermine his authority. This is her. It wouldn't surprise me if the Pirate King is keeping to himself even more these days than usual because he's seeking out new talent, she says. I don't believe the stories that the Pirate King has been the same man for centuries, and his fleet is certainly active enough. Even though they let us handle the ghost ship, you point out? Tima nods. Even then, I think his ships are more concerned with keeping the crown out of San Alfonso. No one wants the crown tyranny here. You support the Pirate King? Do you think someone else should become the Pirate King? Don't you wonder about the Pirate King's anonymity? Pirate politics is well and good, but what about us? That's enough politics. Do you support the Pirate King? She shrugs. I just suspect he has something more planned than the local gossips expect. I certainly wouldn't count him out. I don't really care about the rest of it. Tanima meets your eyes boldly, reminding you of how much she's changed since she joined your crew. Gone is the timid young woman, sure only of her ability with cambiar. In her place is experienced pirate who can hold her own on deck and in matters of the heart. You spend the rest of the day together, avoiding talk of politics and work, wandering the bazaar and the university, stealing moments of privacy in the middle of crowds, making a game of your courtship. As night falls, she leads you back to her cottage, still well kept despite your time at sea. She guides you into bed for a night spare on sleep, but full of pleasure. What is that now? Still at 91. During your third week stuck in San Alfonso, with no end to your land-bound exile from sea in sight, you're about ready to hire yourself out, and not only from boredom. You're not making any money in port, and the less you have to dip into your savings, the better. So when you see Anne Reid holding court at the Lobo Negro, and she beckons you over, you don't think twice about joining the throng. Of course she takes her own sweet time addressing you after you've joined. There are ribald jokes, daring stories, and plenty of toasts to her future success as the would-be Pirate King. Eventually, she dismisses her croonies and beckons you to follow her. I treat her as a leader with respect. I fall into step with her as an equal. I give her a worshipful glance, hoping to stand out among her admirers. Let's do this. She quirks an eyebrow at your presumption. She clearly views herself as more important than you. Of course, she views herself as more important than everyone. I've got a job for you. I think it's something you can handle. An end to the boredom of port? Potential payment? I can handle whatever it is, you say, and she gives you a wry grin. Anne cracks her knuckles absent-mindedly as you walk in the dark warmth of a San Alfonso night. You know, everyone knows. I'm after becoming Pirate King, she says. But you can't challenge a ghost or a legend. Have you tried? She snorts. If I could just declare myself Pirate King and have people follow me, don't you think I'd have done it? I'd have already done it? No, pirates want proof. The Pirate King's fleet is still out there, even if it hasn't been active near San Alfonso lately. The Crown wants him badly enough, he must be causing them trouble, whether we hear about it or not. You hear talk of him in Porto Bellena. You'd swear he's a demon out to sink every ship in the Crown Navy. Frankly, I think the talk of ghosts and pirates is all wind up the sail. He's no more immortal than you or I. But who is he? Actually, I believe the tale. No one really knows. There are some contenders. It must be El Sabio. Isn't it obvious? I'm not going to say that, but no one really knows. Just in case she wants to try and kill him, El Sabio seems pretty cool. And I think I have a good relationship with El Sabio. Yep. Why is my relationship with Anne Reed going up? Fuck that. Exactly. But I intend to change that. She stretches her arms in front of her, fingers interlaced. Her knuckles make a rippling series of pops. I'd like to offer you a job. I want to know who the Pirate King truly is, and I've heard rumors of an inlet down the coast from here that the Pirate King harbors his ships. Where the Pirate King harbors his ships. Outside of the scrutiny of San Alfonso. But the trouble is, no one has been able to actually locate the inlet and return alive. What's in it for me sounds awfully risky. Why hire me instead of sending one of your own crew? Why hire me? Whoever the Pirate King is, he knows very well what I intend, Anne says. If I send any of my crew investigating, he's sure to find a way to evade or eliminate them. But you're a captain of your own ship, your own fleet, and as far as anyone knows, you're not making your own play for Pirate King. She waits for you to respond to that bit of information, either confirming or denying, and chuckling when you remain silent on the issue. She shrugs. Either the risk is worth it or it's not. My money is good. Uncovering the true identity of the Pirate King would be its own reward, and when I take his place, I'll remember the people who helped put me there. Take the job. I need something to do. I'll take the job, but I'll decide what to report after I investigated. I want the job, but I'm more interested in a favor from Anne as payment. I'll take the job. You have no real loyalty to Anne Reed, and as for the Pirate King, I think it's best not to get on his bad side. He's a thorn to the crown, so I support him. I'll replace him one day myself. I think it's best not to be on his bad side. I'm not out to dethrone anybody. I mean, honestly, I got my money, I got my babe, I got my waifu. Anne moves slightly away from you, digging through her satchel for a map and small leather-bound book. This is the research I've put together for the job, she says. The map is rough, but it's based on the sailing I've done trying to locate the inlet. It should put you in the right direction. Wherever the entry is, there's an illusion covering it from the sea, so you have to go on land. And the book, you say? Notes. Possible candidates for the identity of the Pirate King. Rumors. She hands you the map and the book, then takes out her pipe from her satchel and lights it. Mostly bilge water, but there might be a bit of truth in the most ridiculous thing. The book feels warm between your hands, and the job feels full of potential. I'll see what I can find out. Anne, smelling of tobacco and salt, puts her hand on your shoulder. I knew I could count on you. The morning dawns with the smell of salt and potential. It's too early to gather gossip with Lobo Negro, but you've got a map and notes and your own intuition. How do you start your quest? I read Anne's notes, I scour the map, I go to visit Evan Lark and see what I can find out. I head to the jungle to look for the secret inlet. I read Anne's notes. That's a lot of reading. There's little in the book that you haven't heard before. Rumor, conjecture, gossip, and superstition. If the Pirate King is a spirit or an immortal, or a man who sold out his soul to gain immortality, then the odds of you successfully uncovering his or her identity is slim anyway. You decide to proceed as though the Pirate King is immortal as long as you're working on this quest. Anne has helpfully listed some of the most likely pirates. It has to be someone powerful who is no longer working under their own name. Gabriella the Black disappeared from public life several years back, though she's been seen in port from time to time. A decade ago, she was hailed as the Crown's worst enemy, and since the Crown has never gloried in her capture, it's safe to assume she hasn't been caught. Flash Jericho, known for wearing an eyesore bright yellow coat and hat, was reportedly hanged 15 years ago, but 2 years later, a man wearing royal blue with yellow trim got drunk in a tavern in Puerto Belena and admitted that he was Flash Jericho and hadn't been killed at all. Como Suerte, the son of a... I do not know what that is. Would that be pronounced Kachik? I don't know. One of the traditional leaders of the island, who led a rebellion against the crown before taking up life aboard ship, probably retired to live with his family outside the crown's reach in the islands. He'd be in his 60s now if he were still operating under the guise of the Pirate King. I would assume that's still pronounced Innis. Innis of the Coast pled her belly to escape hanging 20 years back as a young and already notorious pirate. It wouldn't surprise anyone to find out she'd returned to the sea under a different name after having her child. And then there's El Sabio, a man who, even in San Alfonso, hides his name. He spends enough time on his plantation that he could be covering up his activities at sea, and he's certainly wealthy. Everyone knows he was a successful pirate in his youth. Retiring to govern San Alfonso could be a ruse to cover the continued work as the Pirate King. But no matter who it is, you won't find out by sitting and going over notes. What do you do next? Let's visit Evan Lark. He's not one of the people, is he? He is not. Let's go visit Evan Lark. Damn, that's a lot of reading. You rescued Evan Lark, and while Sam El Sabio compensating you for saving his secretary, Lark may still feel he owes you something. El Sabio keeps offices in town, though he himself rarely uses them, preferring to stay on his plantation while people like Carolina de la Playa represent him to the public. You suspect, however, that Evan Lark might get more paperwork done and overhear more gossip at the office. Lark, you found out in your weeks in port, manages a staff, also paid by El Sabio, that works as scriveners for the illiterate sailors who come through San Alfonso. The hanging sign above the office's door bears the image of a quill and ink. A bell chimes as you enter, and a few studious-looking workers look up from their desks at your appearance. One rises to greet you, wiping her ink-stained hands on her apron. "I'm here to see Evan Lark," you say. "Of course," she says politely. "Do you have an appointment?" You shake your head, and she tuts. "I'll see if he's available. I believe he was meeting with the barristers this morning." Or baristas? I don't know. She walks to the back of the office and through a closed door. One of the other scriveners shakes his head at you before looking down at his work. But another worker, a very young man, approaches you. "Can I take a letter for you?" he asks, and you recognize his voice. It's Jim, the boy you rescued from the Blackguard ship before you became a captain. "What a surprise to see you here," you say. "Making an honest land-bound living, I see." He shrugs, but you can tell he's proud. "It suits me," he says. Then he lowers his voice, looking as nonchalant as only a person trying to hide something can appear. "If you're looking for Mr. Lark, you won't catch him this week. He's out at sea, accompanying El Sabio while he's away." "Away at sea?" you repeat. "Surveying the island, I expect. Some sort of business to either keep San Alfonso safe or make us more money." Jim winks. "But you didn't hear it from me." He grins at you and returns to his desk. After a few moments, the scrivener returns. "I'm afraid Mr. Lark is unavailable," she says. "Can I put you on his calendar?" You decline. No sense in inviting trouble by putting your name in official paperwork here, and head back out of the office. And you feel like you spent enough time preparing. Time to head out. You set along the coast. Oh, okay. That's why there's so much reading, because there's no choices anymore. You set off along the coast, figuring that the best way to find the inlet is to tromp along the water's edge until you come upon it. But the going isn't easy. While there are plenty of pristine, sandy beaches on the island, There are also mangrove forests and rocky shores. Navigating the mangroves is practically impossible. You half wade through the treacherous roots, and at least once feel a fish or crab bite through your boots. It's a pleasant enough day that being soaked from the knees down isn't a trial, but after taking one particularly inconvenient misstep that leaves you wet to the chest, your journey becomes a bit squishier. And that's before you hit the rocks. Forget San Alfonso's stretch of white sand. You're faced with algae-covered boulders determined to grow into a cliff. As the ground starts to rise, you're out of sorts, annoyed with Anne Reed and the Pirate King, and contemplating the possibility of Hidden Inlet being a rumor created by sadistic pranksters. And then it appears. It's in this frame of mind that you first spot what looks like a creature in distress. At this distance, you think it might be a beached manatee, though it's slimmer. You squint, wondering if it's just a monk seal sunning itself, but that doesn't seem quite right either. If it's an injured animal, it could be dangerous to approach, but if you continue hiking along the rocks, it's directly in your path. If it's injured at a beach, I'd like to help it if I can. I'm not diverting from a route, danger or not. We'll go ahead and do that. You make your way to the coast, approaching where you think you saw the wild animal. After a little while, you close sight of it, and you think perhaps, based on how the rock formations complicate your route, you won't cross its path after all. But from where you saw it, you can hear the sounds of guttural moans, and you realize it sounds an awful lot like a person trying to say the word help. As you walk, you hear the words help in some of the other languages spoken in Lucayan. Poor shipwrecked sot, they're no problem of mine. Maybe it's someone who discovered the inlet. If someone's in trouble, I'd better help. You try to find a safe way to get down to the rocks where the person is stranded. The cries for help become clearer and more desperate as you approach, and you get the sense that whoever is down there is at the end of the line, if they don't get help soon. They'll fall into the waters below. You hurry, but not so much that you'll meet the same fate. You find reasonable footing and are finally able to put eyes on the person in need of help. That's when you discover that it isn't a person, per se, though it's no manatee or monk seal either. It's a mermaid! There are legends all over the world, spoken by sailors from every land, about people who live under the waters. There's a legend told by the islanders here of a beautiful woman named Ikaya, who, in punishment for hypnotizing men with her beauty, was exiled from land and eventually turned into a mermaid. If the point of her punishment was to rob her of her beauty through transformation, the creature before you is the result. The curse certainly succeeded. Oh, is she ugly? What? If the point of her punishment was to rob her of beauty through the transformation, the creature before you is the result. Okay, so she is ugly? The creature on the rocks, tangled so tightly in fishing nets that she can hardly move, has some similarities to the tail of mermaids. Her lower half resembles a dolphin's tail, her upper half is thin, with two human-like arms and a round head ringed with seaweed-like hair. But though she has breasts, there would be no mistaking her for a human woman. Her face is entirely alien, gray-skinned, with eyes where a human's temples would be, no nose, and what looks like a blowhole on the back of her skull. The most human part of her is her mouth, and as one of her eyes catches sight of you, her cries become more frantic. Beautiful or not, mermaids are known for tricking and drowning humans. This is a trap. She's no human, but she needs help. I free her from the net. I'll free her, but I want something in return. I put her out of her misery. I wish I could ask Granny O'Malley for advice. We're going to help her. Achievement unlock of mermaids. You make your way through the rocky outcroppings where she's lodged, taking care to steer clear of where her tail could thrash off balance. I'm going to cut you free, you say. Making sure one of her eyes can see you, you draw your cutlass slowly. She blinks, and her body goes very still. The netting is tight to her skin, so you cut carefully, snapping one section after another, giving her more room to breathe. Her tense stillness gives way to relaxation as you work. This is going to take a while. So, you start. Swim around here often? She makes a whistling sound from her blowhole that might be a laugh. I may avoid it in the future, she says slowly. Oh, I said that really fast. There are usually no fishermen here. Safe for fish. Good hunting for my people. Tell me about your people, you say. She seems to relax more, making the net around her looser while she's talking. She knows it too. She begins to describe a people so foreign that language fails, and she shifts into the squeaks and whistles you mistook for an animal's. What you're able to gather is that there are many of them, and that they migrate to colder waters during the hottest months of the year. They haven't been back in the Lucayan all that long. They usually return after hurricane season has passed. These waters are traditionally safe for them, though she makes it clear on no uncertain terms that her people do not fear danger, and that they have many warriors. Whether that's truth or a lie to protect her people's safety, you're not sure. What about the people who use the inlet? You ask casually. You think that she might be puzzled, but her face is impossible to read. A clear eyelid blinks down over her eye. El Rey de Mar? She says, finally. He is no danger to our people. That does not precisely answer your question. Who is he? Where is the inlet from here? What does he look like? We call him the Pirate King. Who is he? My people say he made a bargain with the deep and traded his fins for legs, she answers, then makes a shallow shrugged-like gesture. I'm not sure I believe this. He acts too much like a legged thing to have once had fins. You cut another few sections of net, thinking, I can show you where he docks. Oh, she's saying that! I can show you where he docks, she says, into the silence. There are no ships there now, but I can show you. No, I don't trust him not to drown me. I'd rather go on land. Great, that'll save me some time. I have my cambiar that I could easily save myself with. I mean, I've got 80. So if she tries to drown me, it'll be fine. That would be much appreciated. I'll do my best to keep up. She gestures to the net still around her tail. I will not be at my fastest today, she says, and you think it's meant to be a comfort. Once you finish cutting her free, she turns and pushes off the outcropping where she was stuck, diving from the cliffs into the sea. A moment later she surfaces, then waits for you to find your way down. It's treacherous terrain, and you have one or two near spills that leave your heart racing before you reach the waterline. The swim is challenging. You manage to secure your boots, jacket, and weapons into something like a sling, but it's awkward and hampers your swimming. Despite her injuries, the mermaid is far faster than you are, even if you were unburdened. She circles back several times to make sure you are keeping up. Eventually, she has you grab around her neck, and you're propelled through the water by the up and down movements of her powerful tail. You can easily see how a sailor who annoyed a mermaid would be unable to swim back to the surface if she got in her mind to take him below. She does take you underwater several times, but never for so long that you're worried you'll run out of air. It's after one of the longest of these stretches that she surfaces in a rocky cove that shows signs of ships having been there. You see a dock, a crib for ship repairs, and several moorings along the shore. The jungle around it is dense, but there are a few shacks nestled among the trees, and you imagine someone could hide here quite comfortably for some time. Where shall I leave you? She asks. The dock, the shore near one of the shacks, the jungle a little way distant from the building. Put me on the shore. The mermaid swims you over towards the shore, stopping when the water becomes too shallow for a comfortable swim. Your feet touch the sand below, which is smoother than you'd anticipated, considering the rocky surroundings. She watches you gain your footing and stays above the water until you reach the shore. She gives you a wave, then vanishes beneath the water. The 4 buildings are located near the dock, and there's very little to them. You enter the closest one, which looks like a full kitchen and dining area, meant, you suppose, to give docked sailors a relief from the galley. There are few food supplies within, though there is plenty of storage room. Considering the lack of evidence of mice or other pests in what little food remains, you would guess the supplies were removed within the last 2 weeks, possibly taken aboard ship or used by docked sailors. 2 of the other shacks have cots, their interiors a good bit larger than the berth aboard a ship, though not so large as the rooms at the Lobo Negro. Like the kitchen, they appear to have been recently cleaned out. In one, there's a sea chest at the end of one cot, but it's empty and has a broken hinge. You check for secret pockets with hidden notes, but you decide that it really is just a broken chest, probably replaced by the sailor it belonged to and not yet disposed of. The last shack is an office, and there's no wealth of paperwork. There's a sea chest, a desk, and a few documents left out under paperweight. The top note is a letter. It reads, Evan, Below are the latest ledgers for our activities. I hope you will find everything in order. Our numbers are not as good as I would like, but I am always glad to pay my portion to San Alfonso's coffers. Let me know if what I've left is insufficient. It is unsurprisingly unsigned. The numbers on the papers below are impressive, though not as large as you might have guessed. The crew numbers are rather low, but there are only a few captains listed. Jericho, Coast, Suerte. Is one of them the Pirate King? Or are they employees? One of the ships, Hacienda, took considerable damage in a battle near the Somers Islands a few weeks before you faced the ghost ship, and the repair costs cut into the profits. The last date given is 2 weeks ago. You look around for the payment mentioned in the letter and see a chest bearing the crest of the crown. Despite the inlet security measures, the unknown nature of the encampment, the chest is locked. I pick the lock, I bash it open, I don't care what's in it, I'm taking the whole thing. I'm not here for a chest. That would be me. You came for information, not to steal from the Pirate King, and you've gotten that. Time to continue your investigation elsewhere. Where do you investigate? The dock, the jungle, I've seen enough. Let's go to the dock. Since no one is here, you don't see any reason to hide yourself. The dock might not have much information, but you might be able to tell how recently the line was used, and you'll definitely get a better view of the encampment. The dock is well built and in better care than the general docks at San Alfonso, which you suspect is because it gets less use. It looks to have been recently scrubbed as well. There are a few barnacles growing on the pilings, which means that someone tended the wood and pulled them off in the last few weeks. The line doesn't have that creaky feeling it gets after being to the weather for a long period. If you had to guess, you'd say that the ship was here in the last 2 weeks. Get it! 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. From here it looks as though there are 8 moorings, some at a close enough length to the shore that you think they'd be good for only the shallower draft of a smaller ship. A cutter rather than a galleon, for example. That's not a huge fleet, but you suspect they're not all here at once. And as long as no one knew the ships were in the employ of the Pirate King, they could do their business at San Alfonso like everyone else. It makes you wonder if the Pirate King's reach is smaller than everyone says. If he really has such a small fleet, or if more people know the true identity of Pirate King than they are letting on, or if the Pirate King hires out ships without letting them know their true employer. And that creates more questions than answers. Where do you investigate? I've seen enough. I don't want to go into the jungle. It gets worse there every day.